You out of exec?
Yep.
Yeah, we're just starting to stream again, live stream.
Being it's warm outside today, Terry.
Yes. Sounds like today is the last day.
It's gonna get cold again.
Is that okay, Troy? Oh, I see what you're saying.
There you go. Perfect.
Well, that's a little hot.
Yeah.
It had all the same color, except, had different pipes. You can buy them, yours is what, 83? This is a 4.
Yeah, you're streaming
You
again.
can buy them, which are all over.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you knew. Sorry.
Are you out of exec? Okay.
Yeah, we're out of exec.
They're a fun.
That department had sitting out here for an hour.
Mm, yeah, not happy. I'm sure.
Well, not in the least. All I know is that I left some young lady. She got her diamond ring.
But I was just surprised how clean it was.
Yeah. Usually they're all rusted up.
Yeah.
Okay, we are back in session. I guess I would just like to amend the reasons for executive session. Number 4 would be more in relation to, it was number 1 and number 4, and instead of number 3 when we got into that. So with that, now that we are out of exec, one of the things that we need to discuss is a new provisional personnel policy during this COVID-19 crisis. What we are in relation to is Cottington County is going to allow all employees 80 hours of crisis sick leave, which means this is over and above what your normal is. So if that way, it will help to reduce, if it's possible, in your offices by 50%, taking turns, however that looks and works for you, that you don't have to use your personal sick leave at this point. We've added an additional 80 to try to help.
We got a couple of personnel or department heads that are still coming.
Okay. This is just kind of us feedback. We need as a commission to approve this, so we're just kind of doing it. We can go into more detail if there's more questions after. But so this is just for the commission. So this is crisis sick leave. It will be added to a provisional policy that we will be willing to, as a county, add 80 hours of additional sick leave for that purpose. Our essential, there will be some exceptions because our essential employees obviously will not be able to use it at this time. So they will be able to bank theirs and use it later when all this clears. This may need to be readdressed as time goes, but this is just something that we just feel might be able to help the integrity of our workforce.
Madam Chair, would you want me just to go through the
Sure.
thing really quick?
Yeah.
So as Commissioner Hinton said, yeah, we're talking about adding. So the first part of this provisional personnel policy. So we did a smaller version of a provisional personnel policy that we over the past 2 weeks. So we did 2 weeks ago, then we modified it again last week slightly. So this adds in the 80 hours of additional crisis sick leave for all employees except us commissioners during this crisis. And the idea is to get as many departments as possible down to that 50% manning level, because the big issue is that if somebody comes up with that is infected, test positive, that takes out that department for 2 weeks, because that's defined by the Department of Health as close proximity. So that's what we're trying to avoid. And then on top of that, you probably have to at least a couple days of shutdown in the courthouse to decontaminate everything. So that would be, that's what we're trying to avoid. And so the idea is to get, when a department can do it, get it down to about 50% manning and then switch out and try to distribute that equitably, distribute the consumption of those 80 hours of crisis sick leave equitably.
So you're thinking maybe a week at a time?
It's
However you want to
however,
manage it.
however you want to manage
Yeah,
it.
you
It
could do half
depends on
days.
each department and what works for your office.
So, and then there's a couple things, like if you need to, say you have somebody that's, off for the crisis sick leave, and you need to get a hold of that employee, they need to come in and take care of something urgent, or you need to get them to do something on the phone. Whatever you need to do that time doesn't count against, you don't, like that hour or whatever it is, of course. And then the exceptions, this would, everybody's going to get the 80 hours of crisis sick leave. We understand that some departments like the sheriff's office, the detention center, emergency management, state's attorney, and at times the highway department are going to have a tough time getting that 50% level, but the basic idea is do the best you can. We understand that you're probably not going to get there all the time. And that's what that, and then there will be times, say as with the auditor's office during election time, there will be times when you're going to need all hands on deck. So just keep your liaison informed. And that's basically that part of the policy in a nutshell. Now, if somebody wants to self-isolate because of CDC guidelines, this would not apply. Then that goes down to what we've already had in this provisional policy, is that you use regular sick leave, vacation time, or comp time. And that's if you're just self-isolating because so you feel a little bad, but you don't want to go get a diagnosis. So basically the CDC or the Department of Health guidelines. And then if you flip it over, the second half of the page, that's just working in the bits of the federal law, the new federal law that says, so this is another 80 hours of crisis sick leave, or not crisis sick leave, but emergency paid sick leave provision of the Family's First Coronavirus Response Act. So this is already in law anyway, but this is the idea of putting it here so we see how it all fits together. So now, separate from normal sick leave, separate from the crisis sick leave that we're implementing as a county, if an employee is told by their jurisdiction, be it federal, state, local, that you got to stay home for some reason, if you're in, say, like Minnehaha or Lincoln County with the over 65 now, that the governor said you need to stay home. If you have somebody that in a category that has to stay home by some order, government order, or you have a healthcare provider that said you should stay home, or you think you might have it and you're seeking a diagnosis, those are pretty concrete things. Then you would get 80 hours of paid sick leave, up to 80 hours of paid sick leave. So that's separate from normal sick leave, separate from the crisis sick leave.
Yeah, this is, and it has to be specifically these bullets that are underneath. You have to meet that criteria in order to qualify.
And jump in, wave, Becky, I can hand you the microphone if I miss something. And then that goes down to 2/3 paid sick leave for those 80 hours of paid sick leave. If you're looking after an individual that tests positive, or you're dealing with a child that's, you can't do daycare, you can't do school because those facilities are closed. So that goes down to 2/3, but then you can make up that other third with other means like vacation time, other sick leave, comp time. And then for the FMLA expansion provisions of the same law, Family First Coronavirus Response Act, allows at those, so the first 2 weeks are kind of covered by those sick leave provisions. The last 10 weeks, so if you're in a situation, I'm sorry, I'm not clear. If you're in a situation where your child is home from school, you have to watch them because the school is closed or daycare is closed, then you get up to 12 weeks of leave. The first two weeks are kind of covered under that sick leave provision, as I understand it. And then the last 10 weeks, it's 2/3 of paid sick leave. And then you can make up the other third if you want to through other means, vacation time or other sick leave or comp time. So those are the biggies in a nutshell. And then the only other thing was if you had other employees that needed to work from home, we added to that a little bit to say that if you needed support from the commissioners, we'd look at supporting it. If you needed another laptop or connecting point or somebody to come in and fix you up, then we'd look at that if you're in a situation. But from talking to most of you, it's pretty hard to work from home for most of your employees. But we have a couple.
Personal computers and laptops will not be allowed. It would have to be a county issued or laptop or computer.
By the way, that fourth bullet down, that should be in blue. I should have put that in blue because it's new, but so, for the most part, when you're doing, the computer type, behind the computer type work, it would need to be on a county laptop. And if that's an issue and you really want to send somebody home to work, then come talk to the commissioners if it's an expense issue. And then the rest is just kind of go the guidelines that, you know, wash your hands, do all that stuff. Keep the commission informed.
All right, with that explanation, is the commission ready to make a motion to adopt this provisional personnel policy? And that would go under number 13, where it fits under the COVID practices and procedures.
So moved.
Motion by Waterman. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Gable. Do we have any further discussion?
Just one, Madam Chair, just wonder if any, since we have a lot of department heads here, any observations, things you think we're missing in this? We're coming back to this. So far, this is the third week we've come back to this, so we understand there might be a tweak or two in there.
It's kind of a moving target, work in progress.
Is there an effective date?
It would be
Yeah,
immediately.
It says effective immediately in
Okay.
the bottom. Let's see, where does it say it? The last sentence of the second paragraph, it says, in order to facilitate this, comma,
Right
effective
on the first
immediately,
page.
comma.
Okay.
Effective
Okay.
immediately, yeah.
I noticed there's a section in there where you say.
She's all right. They can come up here and talk on one of the mics here too, if they want.
Okay, under the exceptions on, the first page, sorry.
Yeah.
It says that other departments must temporarily have a greater than 50% physical workplace presence. The department head will inform the commissioners through their respective commissioner liaison. I'm going into tax season and we are closed for over half of March. So all those March people are gonna come due at the end of April too. So I guess what my concern is, you know, I don't want, we already have a situation where they're saying, well, I can't get through on the phone. If I've got half of my people gone, I guess I'm just a little concerned as I go till the end of April that we be allowed to bump up to that. Because at this point,
Yes.
we're maintaining distance.
Yeah.
Because I've got everybody has their own workstation, everybody has their own phones, everybody has their own computers, and
That's the point of
Yes.
that bullet, is so that you can do that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the idea.
You
And
have-
I mean, the language, if it looks okay to Becky, so.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
There's going to be times where each office is going to be considered essential. And so you're all going to be allowed to do that. Another thing we did not, which I remember now, we have a top number that they cannot go over. We have a limit. So if these individuals are at that, I mean, like the essential, they would get that added on because they maybe can't use it right now.
Yeah, that's,
We have a cap.
yeah.
So we need to relax that cap so that if you're up there, that will be allowed to be added on there.
So are you talking about that last bullet? It says, I think you're talking about unused. So if you don't use the additional 80 hours of crisis sick leave, those hours, whatever's unused would be credited to each respective employee's sick leave account. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes,
So-
that if they're maxed out, that they won't lose it, that they'll get that.
Yeah. So, well, what do you mean by maxed out? Oh, you mean,
Yeah, if they have the 1,200 hours,
oh.
that
okay.
they wouldn't lose it, especially
Yeah.
for the essential that aren't able to use it right now, or I guess.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
need to relax that in this instance for this purpose only, just
you
for
think-
these
does that-
80 hours.
Okay. Does that mean any change to the language of what's written here? Do you
I
think?
don't know, dude.
I think,
Can we add it in under that, or will that last bullet take care of that? Unused sick leave will be credited to each respective employee's sick leave account.
it does. Yeah, that's basically what it says.
So just so that,
Yeah.
Everybody's gonna be 80, if they don't have to use it, they will
They still get to keep it.
still get to keep it.
we're
Yeah,
gonna,
but-
we
but-
encourage everyone to use it in this time
But
period.
the
That it's
idea-
not just to kind of use it as extra time. It really needs to be used
It's
for
to-
this crisis.
It's to allow you to get people out of
Yes.
here, keep the county in operation.
Yeah.
You know, lessen the chances of infection. And so we, oh, I just lost my thought.
It's more so like essential that, and you're gonna have those times in your office, and Cindy will during election, you know, that that they're not going to be able to be doing it during that time period. They're not going to lose that, same thing as like right now, like sheriff's office, different places like that absolutely can't use it right now. They're going to get it as well. It's to keep it all equal.
And yeah, you want to try to keep it within your departments. You want to try to keep it as equitable. The equitable consumption of these extra hours is as much as you can.
During this time.
So,
Do you want to use this first or their personal sick first?
This first,
This
is
just-
what they're going to
yeah,
use.
So, and this, we think we have outlined in here when you would not use this.
Yeah.
So
It's
this
all-
is to thin out the physical presence in your office to lessen the chances of infection.
The time that they would have to use their own personal is if they want to self-isolate without having a directive from a doctor or somebody who's told them they need to self-isolate. Then they fall under, on the second page, probably 1 or 2. So,
What exactly are you considering essential and not essential? I only have 2 clerical in my office, and we are actually becoming very busy with everybody losing their jobs. They are applying for WIC, and we are actually down to just a 1 nurse schedule at this time, because I'm switching over to doing roles through BIS. I mean, we only do have 2 of them there. They are more than 6 feet apart.
mhm.
So, I mean, is it by my discretion if I can keep them both there?
Yes, we have to leave that to the department heads because it's going to vary from time to time with what's going on in your offices.
Do you have a copy of the policy? So it's, it's like the, under exceptions, it's the last bullet that's trying to cover those situations.
Okay.
So your liaison is Myron, so just let him know. Yeah.
And if they are using it, how do you want me to put it on their time?
On their timesheets, yep. And
COVID-19.
COVID, yeah,
COVID-19.
crisis sick leave or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, just
Crisis
something
sick
to
leave.
designate they use their 80, a portion of their 80 hours. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Cindy, do you have any other things that you want to add to this as far as
No, it's
documentation
just
or?
gonna take a while to sort through timesheets, but we'll get it done.
All right. Becky?
At this point, we are already half staff. We usually only have 4 in there anyway, and 2 of them are out, so we just have 2 anyway, and we're probably far apart as Cindy and I. So,
But we're talking county employees.
well, yeah,
Yeah,
But therefore, it's at your discretion, Becky.
okay,
yeah,
well, I'll talk to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Work it out.
yeah, because I mean, there's only, the other ones are out.
well, if you don't need it, then you don't need it, I guess. We're just offering this for trying to alleviate, the workforce and to the integrity of that. So maybe you'll, yep, something new to think about.
Okay.
All right.
Do you want to see if Myron and Troy have?
Myron and Troy, did you have any discussion items or anything on this topic that you would like to add?
I'm good.
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, anyone else? We have a motion and a second. Are we ready to vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Van Duzen.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Seeing none, that motion carries as well. All right, so another item that we need to discuss is about Memorial Park. And I don't know, like our department heads, are we good with, if everybody can go back to their respective offices? Terry, do you feel satisfied with the information? If there are any other questions, concerns, get a hold of me or Terry and we'll work through it, I guess. Should be good. All right, don't want to hold you up any longer. Thank you for coming. Okay. All right, we will move on to discussion about Memorial Park, which also falls under the COVID-19 practices and procedures. Typically, our park opens up on May 1st. I don't know what the state, I don't know if that's been decided yet, or the city, what their intentions are, but I think it's something that we need to at least be thinking about and deciding what we're gonna do. But I'll let Steve have a little input on this.
Okay, as far as it is, we have 4 full-timers right now for the first part of May and 1 separate individual that is far away from the other ones that have booked already. But I had talked to Doug Sharp. He is on the state South Dakota Game and Fish Commission. And he said, as far as right now, it's an ongoing discussion. Currently, right now, they are deciding not to close. Other states have not closed, but they have went to day use only. Also, there are some that are alternating sites for camping, but no facilities.
So then that means the parks and everything would be roped off that they couldn't use that?
They couldn't use, yeah, playground equipment, the bathroom facilities, and stuff like that, so.
So when you say day activities only?
So basically, more or less, they can come out, but they really more or less can't camp overnight.
The only people that could camp overnight possibly, Steve, would be the people that bring in a self-contained camper with their own generator.
That's probably a possibility that can be done. And so like it is, he kind of discussed, it's a very big subject that's talked about. They could, because they can spread apart. That's why some states have it that they're alternating sites, so they have more distance. The issue can be there is, where do you pick and choose? You're going to have upset parties that gets to this site, but they don't get, the next one don't get the other site. That could be a big controversial issue. The thing is if we could relook at it, we could probably close it down for the first half of May and then relook at it closer we get to Memorial Day weekend.
Just to see how the progression
Of the COVID, yes.
goes with the COVID.
That is a possibility. That's a look at
So
too.
right now we
So
have 4 individuals.
we have 4 individuals, right? We have 4 of them that are full timers that's already scheduled. We have 2 other parties that have just for the first weekend. Then it picks up a little more again on the second weekend of May, and then nothing until it really, from there on, it's Memorial Day weekend. Then it's full.
Right. I don't know, are those full timers, are they local residents or are they?
Pretty well local. They're all local residents, the full timers, pretty well close to. One gentleman, so that I believe lives probably in Sioux Falls, but he's camped here for several years.
And I guess, I don't know what the city is doing yet at this.
City right now is holding off on their campground, waiting to find out what the state and city also, or the county does. It's yeah, and right, granted, all like the parks, the playground equipment are all blocked off, all the utility, all their facilities are blocked off.
They can't use the bathhouses.
They can't use the bathhouses or nothing. And so, and they're kind of more or less waiting to see. The thing about City Park is they are first come, first served basis. So, they have that till then to make a determination. And so but ours, people pre-book a year ahead, people go do the online 90-day. And currently right now, I put on the answering machine that it is closed right now due to COVID-19 till the April 15th.
We don't actually open till
May 1st, but you have it that the park is open, traditionally the park is open, they can turn around and call in for reservations, but currently I put on the answering machine due to the COVID.
No reservations
Yes.
will be happening.
Right.
If we would, you mentioned the middle of May, and I'm gonna push that a little farther down the road, thinking about what the governor had said. Can we, what would you think of the idea of closing it for the first 3 weeks, visiting it, and then giving the people a full week for the Memorial Day
We would
weekend?
have to at least, you know, in order to get this thing going, you know, what is it, May 21st is, we have a lot of people starting to book for Memorial Day weekend. We would have to know, basically give, you know, till, I would say the latest, the 12th, to make a decision if we're going to close. That way we can get people notified. And the one question to ask is do we fully refund these people because of,
Yeah.
and so I don't know how,
Definitely.
finance fees goes with the credit card deal. I don't know how,
Not to talk to Carol.
yeah.
Yeah. But if we close, it's not their fault. We
No, it is not their fault.
That would have to happen.
Their share, you know, if we close for 1/4 of the season, they should get 1/4 of their money back.
Right.
If they cancel, we don't refund.
No,
So the governor's declaration went till May 31st, which is that Sunday. So then June 1st, I mean, it's up till May 31st right now. She extended it out. I don't know, do we want to follow that?
I think that's a good idea personally. I mean, Steve, do you have any other recommendations? I mean, it makes sense to follow what the state's doing.
I think we need to probably somewhat follow. I know you're taking away activity, you know, right now. That's, you know, it's getting more and more to take away activity for people. This is the way to get away. But yet you also have to be concerned of, you
Well,
know,
if we don't have-
safety.
Yeah, if we
Yeah,
don't
gathering.
have any bathhouses open.
You know,
and-
there is one thing that we could do. The pavilion is for, I believe, a reunion or a party on that weekend. We would probably have to basically have to stop that.
Yeah. If we don't, and we make it facilities only, I mean, without facilities.
You want to scoot up to your.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. If we don't close it, the park, and we got our facilities closed, but if we let people in there, I can see where there could be some problems. I'm anticipating some problems. We don't want that.
Right.
And after giving this a lot of thought before this meeting also, my feelings are to, as hard as it is, close it through the Memorial Day weekend following state guidelines.
That's the question to ask. Do we do
Somebody-
it before or go through, or go till, like the state recommends, you know, till the 1st of June? That's, you know.
We're all waiting for somebody else to make the decision, and the city's making for the state, and the state's going, oh, what's the federal government doing, and blah, blah, blah. I think we're just gonna have to make a tough decision and close it.
Commissioner Gable, do you have a
Yeah, just
comment?
one question. So if say we did close it up to the Memorial Day weekend, I mean, you tell me how difficult this is, and then we said, you know, say a week before that, we said, okay, well, we still got to keep it closed. We have to go ahead and close it through the rest of May or into June. I mean, how much difficulty would that? I don't think it's hard for us to do two separate actions, but how much is it better for the campers to have a little bit of hope that maybe they can do the Memorial Day weekend, or just let them know? We could just maybe here's just to suggest, maybe we close it up until Memorial Day weekend and then let everybody know that we're doing it, refund their money for those time, that amount of time, and then say, but, you know, be aware, we're probably going to have to cancel it for Memorial Day weekend too. Give them a fair warning if you want to make other plans.
You know, I don't know exactly for all the contact information that everybody gave for, like, when they reserved last year. Like all the ones that reserved online, they leave an email address, so you can at least notify them, you know, that this is partially coming down the road. It's the ones that have and I don't know what was left for contact information for that. Without going into that computer to see what they left, most of them probably just left phone numbers, you know, and stuff. So, the fastest way would be is an email, but
I think that's part of what the new camp manager is gonna do, is be dealing with that, so.
Well, we do need our personnel out there open, whether we're open or
Yeah,
closed.
exactly, because currently, right now, they said it's unbelievable how many people are walking and driving through, driving into the park at this present time. It just,
So we're gonna be closed basically to camping. I mean, if they want to
The-
drive through
the-
or use the walk
that's
trail.
that's the difference, we have the walk trail in there. One thing that was brought up because of the boat ramp
Mhm.
in there going to access, and so that's one thing
Yeah.
that Doug brought up. If you close the whole park,
No,
do you close that boat ramp,
we need to be.
for access
yeah.
for,
I
Specific.
think maybe we're at a point where could we make a motion just to close it to camping?
Could you wait 1 week and get everything down that you need to have done and take action on it next Tuesday?
I think that's fine with me. I
Very
just don't
good.
know the effect on
I think so
campers.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
don't know the
I think
I
you
think we'll be
need
okay.
to get
Lot of-
everything lined up that needs
Yep.
to be done before you make any or take any action. So 1 week from
Okay,
today.
If that's
Yep.
if that's not gonna cause a problem for people, then yeah.
No, it
I
should.
think we'll have a better idea, and maybe in the state will by that time have made a decision. And I mean, this is just kind of a discussion of what
Yep,
might be coming down the pike. So
all right, that sounds good to me.
you want to say something, Commissioner Waterman?
No, I was just finding it
Madam Chair,
privately
Yes.
hilarious.
Commissioner Van Duzen?
if we're going to vote, I guess I'd like to do that. I need to step away from the meeting here.
No, I think we're going to leave this for another week, Troy, and get some more information before we make a decision on this.
Okay, I apologize. I have to get going here.
Okay. That's fine. We're about done. I think we have one more issue, one more decision that we need to make, and I don't know if anyone,
So we have, yeah, I can make, so this goes back to, Madam Chair, this goes back to agenda item
thanks, Steve.
13. And so we have one department head, so the welfare director that is requesting to work from home. And let me see if I can formulate the motion. I would say, here's what I would suggest is, we know we have issues with the phone lines. So until the phone line issues are fixed, somebody has to be in that office during business hours, whether it's the director herself or the or the part-time person that's there. And then once the phone line issues are fixed, then I guess I wouldn't. I think it's okay to work from home. That's kind of my view. Go.
Got a motion by Gable. Do I have a second on that
Well,
motion?
I'll make that motion. Yeah.
What is the motion?
To
So-
allow,
So to allow the welfare director to work from home with the following exception, that when the phone lines are not, once the phone line issues are fixed, so the call forwarding is fixed, maybe you could word it that way in the motion. Once the call forwarding is fixed, the director may work from home. But until that time, somebody, whether it's the director herself or the part-time help, needs to be in the office during business hours.
Just an interruption here. That's not Robert's rules, but before you make that motion, Lee, there was problems with the phone system, whether in or out of the office.
Did you get what I said? Do you want to read that
Yeah.
back and see if that sounds like it would be?
No, I didn't write it down. I'm relying on my recorder. You're allowing the welfare director to work from home as soon as the phone issues in the office are addressed. And until that time, there will be personnel on staff within the office
During business hours.
during business hours.
all right. You hear the motion? Does anyone want to second that motion?
I'll second the motion.
Got a second by Johnson. Any further discussion? Charlie, were you wanting to say anything? Anyone else? Okay. Guess, are we ready to vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Van Duzen is no longer with online, right? Opposed? I would say no. With that, that motion carries. Do we have any other business that we need to discuss that anyone can think of?
What about equalization? Is there any word on that? That would be next week.
No, I believe Sarah, or I believe there was some information sent out to you that it's all going to be done on April 21st.
Yeah, she did email
You
all
should
of
have
us.
gotten an email.
All right.
Basically postponing all the hearings 1 week.
Yep, till the
And so
21st.
it gives them more time to figure out. So we may not have we may have quorum, we'll have a quorum, but it may not be as many as we normally have, I think is what she was saying.
Yep, the number will be,
Well, the county board will meet at 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
And the consolidated board is where you're going to drop your numbers.
yeah,
Okay, so we should be able to meet as a full board here.
Yeah.
We can do it virtually like we're doing.
I believe so.
yeah. And then, yeah, it's the consolidated, that makeup will be different than typical. All right, seeing no other business, I would look for a motion to adjourn.
I would make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Waterman, second by Johnson. All in favor, say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.
Thanks, Myron, for bearing through with this.
All right. I don't even know what I got next. Anything you need me to sign?
Yep, just a few things.
Just the last tab